click the button.
All right.
And you're live.
All right. First one is GDA, that support staff positions. I didn't see anything in this other than we deleted as something that appeared to be superfluous. Anybody else have any additions or objections that they want on this?
Not that I can remember, since I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but I did read the information. I think the same thing. It's just some verbiage change.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's more just updating the language with what we're now calling things and clearing up that there are definitions and joint resolutions around what is professional and support staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to have many questions about anything till we start up talking about voting and when we start talking about copyrights, because I got some questions.
Right.
On those.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Okay.
how about GDL? Then I believe that's our next one.
I have no questions.
Yes, the only thing we did was take out the name of an older group that we used to call it, but now we have other ways of gathering the assessments, the needs assessments.
I didn't see a problem with this at all. Is everyone else in agreement? How about we go to the GBB?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody have any additions or deletions or questions on this one? I had one. Okay, go to the third paragraph. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It says building administrators will develop and communicate with both professional sports and establishing. Also, administrators working in partner districts will develop and maintain community by establishing systematic procedures for operation in partner districts. Professional staff will give the opportunity to be encouraged to contribute in the development of the curriculum and the systematic procedures pertaining to the instructional program. Is there a way that we can somehow reference this also to the partnership plan? I mean, that whole paragraph seems to be the partnership, you know, what we're talking about in the partnership plan. I thought it might not be a bad idea to reference there.
Are you thinking that leading into the second sentence, maybe before similarly? So
Correct, because after that, it seems like what we're talking about is once we get out of our buildings and we start talking about the other districts and the administrators, when we did all that stuff on the partnership plan, I mean, those were all stuff that we were dealing with at that time about how people should be able to get feedback, how there should, you know, that we should be working together. And that seemed to be pretty well laid out, at least then. I was wondering, is there a way to reference that?
So what if we, at the end of that second sentence, so it gets to and maintain communication channels for establishing systemic procedures for operation in partner districts in alignment with the SSD partnership agreement?
That sounds excellent.
Does that get it?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, if we, I just would feel, I like to keep pushing the partnership plan, and I like to have people to realize it exists.
Yeah. Putting it in policy ensures it exists.
Yes. And if anybody disagrees, let me know. You know, that's just one of my thoughts. Other than that, I thought it was great.
Should it be alignment or outlined?
That's a good question, Wendy.
We could do as outlined.
As outlined. Yeah,
Because I know communications is an area, so that might be.
Yeah,
As outlined in the
there's
special school
specific
district
things.
partnership agreement.
Yeah, there's specific things in the partnership plan. Now, if we do that, does that mean we have to put a reference on the partnership plan down there?
We can put that as a cross-reference down there at the bottom.
Yeah. I think that would be a good idea.
Yep.
All right, if everybody's in agreement with that, how about EG AAA? Easier to say that way.
Hi, everyone. Just want to say I joined a couple minutes ago, but I don't have anything to add to that discussion.
Hi, Dr. Eisner. Anything on the ones before this one that you had questions on?
I didn't really have many comments.
And questions on EGAA, anyone? I'm just checking. I don't know if it's this one or the other one I had questions.
There were very few changes on the policy.
No.
Everything
This
was in the
one
regulation.
This one I didn't have anything. All right, if not that, let's go to the regulation, please. I had a question on this one. When it talks about general responsibility, I had a couple of questions.
Mhm.
First of all, and it's not a change in the thing. I just need, can you explain to me what fair use means?
Yeah, so fair use is a very broad term that basically allows certain circumstances where you can duplicate a material as long as it fits under different headings. So that's kind of what we have outlined there at the bottom of the regulation, because the policy referenced fair use, but then we never really defined what it was. So we were trying to clean that up a little bit in the regulation of the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount of and substantiality of the portion used. So like if it's a whole book and you're only copying a page or two of the whole book, that can be permitted in some circumstances, and the effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. So those are all the four federal categories that fall under fair use. We provide our staff with more specific guidance than that. But as far as the policy, as far as the regulation goes, we don't want to be too concrete because some of this stuff is fluid depending on court rulings.
Okay. Sounds good to me. I just wanted to make sure I knew I have some idea what it meant. Anyone else have any questions on this?
I don't have any.
I had one other one, and that is on number 4, when we start talking about if off-sites one, it's what we added there.
Yeah. So this was
where are the rules and protocols?
Yeah.
Do we have them somewhere in our policy or?
So what we have is when a student is going to receive a piece of district equipment that they're going to take home, we have a user agreement that they sign.
Okay.
And so those types of pieces are included in that user agreement.
Great. I just didn't know where that was.
Yeah. When they go to check out, like during COVID, when we were passing out laptops, we had agreements that the student and the parents signed before we would hand over the computer that was basically getting at these things. So if we're letting you use district technology outside of the building, please use it in accordance with law.
Okay. We don't need to put that in to the reg somewhere, do we?
I don't think so, because that agreement's going to look different depending on the setting, whether it's assistive technology or it's a Chromebook.
No, that's fine. That was just I just wondered. I was wondering, did we? But if you're saying we don't, that's fine. Okay. That's the only thing I had on that. Voting methods. I'm guessing other people had questions on this one too.
And this
that's where I saw the majority of the changes from what I can remember in reading a couple of days ago. There was quite a lot of changes within the language of that particular reg. And I'm not sure as to what that did in reference to how we are. Is it changing our policy for voting?
So
it is.
It is to a degree, but some of it is clearing up how we follow Robert's Rules of Order in terms of voting and abstention. This is all the changes in here were just taken over or carried over from the recommendation from MSBA, where it's become very common during votes on school boards, where especially folks who are up for election are choosing to abstain from votes as they're getting closer to an election. And so the question was, what happens when you have a quorum? So we have, 6 board members present, but all but 2 or all but 3 abstain. Did the vote pass or not if it only got 2 votes in favor? And so the purpose of the changes here in voting method is to clarify that as long as a majority of the people who actually casted a vote voted in favor of it, then the item does indeed pass, even if a majority of the board abstained from voting.
Even on a contract?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Let me see on here.
So
I
we don't
thought
have
it-
to have 4.
I thought we had to have 4 on a contract.
Yeah, so it still has that for a contract. I think that there is still language in here for contract. Give me one sec.
Yeah, the part that the reason
An
why I saw
affirmative
this
vote
is
by the
important.
majority of the whole board is required for a contract, employ a person, approve a bill or issue or a warrant. So that language is still in there, but this is for anything else.
The reason why I find that important is we may not have 4 people who want to vote for something there, okay?
Yep.
And so it would be nice to know ahead of time so that we could either strike the thing or maybe not even bring it up
Mhm.
or table it until we have enough members there.
Yeah, and this became
I
really
would think
prevalent
that it
during
would-
the COVID protocol discussions where you had board members that were just abstaining, but then the question was, did it pass or did it not pass? And so that's where this language has come from.
We had back when we had Terry Briggs on the board, he was the one who probably knew more about contracts than anybody else. At least it was my opinion that was true. But there were periodic times that he would have to abstain because he had some connections with something, or he had been a lobbyist for them at some time. And we always had to make sure that we had enough members there present to pass, that we had 4 people voting for it. So that's what would be nice to know. My question is, why did MSBA decide to, it was right in the first page.
Yep.
Why did MSBA decide to strike that the written explanation of his or her vote? I have never seen that done, but I'm just wondering why it was struck.
Yeah, so there were 2 main points there. The first point was if a board member wants to explain their vote, they could do that as a part of discussion prior to the vote being cast. So if there was the opportunity for discussion, why wouldn't they do it in discussion as opposed to doing it after the fact in writing? The second concern is right now that language doesn't give any time frame for when they would submit their explanation in writing. And so for board secretaries, are the minutes final or not? You were having people submit things in writing after the board approved the minutes for the meeting, and then now needing to go back and amend the minutes because now they want to have this document included or that document included. So it was really hard to say, when are we done with the minutes from a meeting, with that clause being there where people can ask to add that later of a written explanation of the vote.
Okay, let's go back. Maybe I'm wrong. Is Amy on this call?
I'm here.
Hi, Amy. On what minutes are taken in it's just the votes when it comes to executive session, isn't it? It's not the discussion.
I put very little in the comments regarding discussion.
That's what I thought. That's why it was my understanding. A lot of times it is a minimal of discussion, if anything. It just says, these are the votes. This is it.
Yeah.
And that's
some
why
people,
go on.
there's some people in other districts and other areas that put a lot of information in, but I was always taught that
Less
in
is
closed
best.
session, less is better.
And this is
That's
really, this section is really more in reference to open session than it is closed session.
Yeah, I could see this in open session. That makes perfect sense. It was the closed session votes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen, I'm not saying fight for it because I've never seen anybody do it, at least on our boards.
Mhm.
But I don't know. But I just know that on our closed session, there's not a lot of information.
Based off the comments from MSBA, it looks like the places where people were doing it, it was becoming very cumbersome. And so that's why they were striking it, was to remove that cumbersome piece out of the process.
Okay. I don't have any strong feelings not to do it, but I just,
I had a question about, oh, now we're moving up too far. It was a page 1, paragraph 3.
okay.
The very last sentence, the board does not need to vote to re-employ a teacher. Seems ambiguous to me. I assume that the intention here is the board does not need to vote to renew the contract of an employed teacher, as opposed to re-employ a teacher who was previously terminated. And then, anyways, my suggestion might be, if that's the intent, is the board does not need to vote to renew the contract of an employed teacher.
I believe that is the intent of the language here. So yeah, we can make that change.
I mean,
No, that makes perfect sense what you're saying. Yes.
and then you answered my other questions, which were about just the issue about people abstaining, since I didn't think that had come up very often for our board, but I now understand. Thank you.
All right. Anything else on this?
Not on that. I in turn think that on the previous item that we just discussed in reference to the use of computers and stuff, and when we talk about according to law, I think that there may be a parenthesis that need to be pushed in there and cite a few examples of what that law that you were referencing to is. I'm assuming that would be things like pornography and other kinds of things that we would consider to be illegal use of our equipment in those situations where we've lent it out to students. And so I think that the play on the ignorance that possibly could exist would be without there being some examples to be able to cite that we know that could be considered illegal use.
Yeah, and those user agreements that they sign, it is more spelled out than that. It gives references. Okay. It's also in the board policy that we have. That's the technology use agreement board policy. It's spelled out pretty verbatim in there of all of the different things that would be a violation.
Okay. Also in the code of conduct.
And it's in the code of conduct too. Yeah. And in
yeah.
that relevant board policy, what is that, Wendy? GJ or JG and JGR.
Okay. All right. I wasn't aware of that, but I did want to make sure that since we were talking about that, people tend to play crazy at times.
And that's a good point, Director Faulkner, making sure that we've got a cross-reference in there to JG and technology use too. That would be a good, if we don't have that in the policy already, making sure we have those cross-references.
Okay.
Because there is a spillover to academic dishonesty. There's already a JG, but I'm going to add a technology use cross-reference as well.
Okay. Slightly off topic, slightly on topic. Do we need to at some point look at our policies about use of artificial intelligence and homework and update that, since that's a topical issue now?
Yeah. And Wendy, I think that's going to be in your area. That's for sure in the eyes. So we can put that
something for a future meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
All right. One last thing, if no one has any other questions, I would like, Kevin, is it possible we take a look at again, we move up that removal of board members, that policy on that, so that we can take a look at that. I know that MSBA, we had asked some questions. We kind of forward all that information to everybody and we draft something next time. I think that would be in February. That'll give us a chance to look at that.
Okay. So do you want to do BBD which is board member removal from office, and then also BBC, which is board member resignation. It's been a while since we've done board
Yes.
member resignation.
I'd like to
Bring
do
those-
both.
Bring those two together.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, we can do that.
Anybody else have anything? All right, thank you,
don't.
everybody. What, did someone say something? Okay. Everybody
No, I
have a
just said
great
I did.
weekend. You had something?
Okay.
Yeah. Curtis, were you saying something? I'm sorry.
I'll end the
No,
stream.
I was saying I didn't have anything. They just came in and called me.
Good, good. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody have a
Thank you.
good weekend.